Hello and welcome again to PowerTalks TV. Now these days, we hear a lot of talk about transformative leadership. And as popular as that expression is, it's not exactly very accurate, because a leader takes people, a leader ought to take people from one form to another. And we've been talking about transformation from one form to another. Now that is part of the job description of a leader. The leader is somebody who's, by default, whose job description is to take people from form A to form B. So every leader ought to be transformative in the first place. The job of the leader is to visualize, crystallize the next form and lead people there. So, to say transformative leadership is like saying repeat again. Or like some people would say, where I come from, reverse back. All right? Now, so a leader by definition should be transformative in their thinking. Now, why do some people get stuck in one form, and just never leave that form? I've seen people live their entire lifetime literally stuck in one form. One of the major reasons for this, there are a lot of reasons, but one main reason is ignorance. An ignorant person is a person who ignores knowledge. And it's a choice. Ignorance is a choice. You see, the human brain is like a computer that has to be loaded with software. The difference, however, is that whether you consciously put the software or program the mind or not, it's consistently and constantly being programmed by events happening around or by associations. Unfortunately, we live in a world today where negativity is very loud. And it's actually louder, has a louder voice in the world than anything positive. Why? Because bad news is good news. A lot of times breaking news is bad news. All right? So more people are getting programmed negatively, and so it therefore takes a conscious effort to be programmed with for positive results. You literally have to swim against the tide. Now, that will take a major investment in time. It take a major investment in money. And the truth is, wisdom is available to anyone who is ready to buy it. It is packaged in books, on bookshelves, in bookstores, all over the world. If you feed your physical body at the expense of your mind, you are making yourself an endangered species. And such people become victims of the natural and environmental programming. So the budget you have for your mind will determine the value you place on your mind and will influence the value you receive back from your mind. Some people claim to be too busy to read. That's the fastest way to develop what I call a landlocked brain, where what is coming out of them is the same thing that's been coming out, nothing fresh. And so this is so important. Saying you don't have the time to read, it's like driving on a low fuel tank and saying you don't have time to stop to put fuel in your car. Now, that's a choice that does not have a good outcome. Because eventually your car will stop somewhere in the middle of nowhere. There's embarrassment that goes with it. There's time wasted. I mean, a lot of hardship that could have been avoided. It's also like saying you don't have the time to read. It's like someone saying they don't have time to back up their computer. The day it crashes, and months or years of work are lost. You will wish you had taken time to back up. Others say they don't have the money to read. Let me give you a piece of friendly advice. If you need to choose between books and food, choose books. You need to see a book like an orange seed. You can count the number of seeds in an orange. Just cut it open, remove the seeds. You can count the number of seeds, but you will never be able to count the number of oranges that can come from one seed. So similarly, you can measure your investment in a book. Maybe you spend $10 on a book, but you will never be able to count the return to your life of a good book of wisdom that challenges your thinking and empowers you. It is very important how you see a book, because how you see will determine what you see. For some, a book is a form of information. For others, it is a form of education. But I believe that the highest use of a book is when a book becomes a form of transportation. A book can transport your mind to any form you desire for it to go. I hope you got that. A book can transport your mind to any form. That means a book's highest service to the reader is when it becomes an agent of transformation. I remember a time in my life I was really struggling financially. And so I realized a simple truth, that poverty was an output. You don't keep input constant and expect a different output. So the poverty was an output. So what I needed to do was to change my input. And so I bought a few books. The Millionaire Next Door, Thomas J. Stanley. The Millionaire Mind by Thomas J. Stanley. The Millionaire's Notebook by Stephen Scott. The Millionaire Course by Mark Allen. Cracking the Millionaire Code. I just bought a whole bunch of them. Laws of Prosperity by Kenneth Copeland. I just began to change the software, because I knew that my succeeding, my overcoming that financial hardship, it was not a function of wishing. It was not a function of going to sit down in church and pray, because I knew so many people in intercessory departments who were prayer warriors in churches who were broke. And if that was the key to it, they should have been the wealthiest people. So I knew I had to change my software. Now, I began to change the software. And the amazing thing about this is, I could be reading on one topic, but you see, every time you read and put wisdom in your mind, it's like fertilizer. I could be reading on something, ideas begin to pop up where something else is concerned. Before I knew what was happening, I became an ideas machine. And not just an ideas machine. I was able to come up with the ideas. I was able to come up with the implementation process. And with gratitude to God, I can confidently say that phase of my life has gone forever. Forever. Why? Because of reprogramming. And so, transformation is possible for anybody. I came from that place of a place where I had nothing, were broke, could hardly eat. Today, the story is different. Now that's transformation. And that transformation can happen to anybody. Anybody. If you will pay the price to invest in your mind. And once your mind has been transformed, your life will naturally follow. You don't have to start by reading. Right now, I read about 4 or 5 books every month. You don't have to start by reading that number of books a month. Just start with one. Just try to read one book over a 30-day period. In 1 year, you'd have read 12 books. Very interesting. I mean, how this just changes the way we think. And what you discover, like I said earlier on, books of wisdom are like fertilizer. As you read, your mind becomes more productive and alive, even in areas not directly related to the book you are reading. The solution to every problem you will encounter all the days of your life are already in print somewhere. And that's why ignorance is a choice. And humanity cannot be used as an excuse for mediocrity. I hear people say, I'm only human. Permit me to say, you're not a human being having a spiritual experience. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. And the bleaching agent for ignorance and the key ingredient for transformative living are the words written in good books of wisdom that can take you from where you are to where you ought to be. If the rate of change outside you is faster than the rate of growth within you, then victims will be born. You don't have to be a victim. You need a conscious, deliberate investment in your mind. And as you do that, as you begin to upgrade your mind, what will happen is, as your mind begins to move, as you begin to develop your mind, you suddenly realize that there are some people you used to hang out with before. You just can't connect with them anymore. And don't be intimidated by people saying, oh, now he's proud. Oh, once upon a time, we used to hang out together, and now he thinks he's doing well, he's proud. Don't worry, people will say that. Don't be moved by that. Because, come on, of course we have to change. Our realities are no more the same. Maybe when you started, your reality was you were both looking for money to eat lunch together. And you are now in a place where your reality is how to buy another company and expand in another. So your realities have changed. What are you going to talk about? You see what happens? As you invest in your mind, realities change. Don't be intimidated by people telling you, oh, he's proud. Listen, a lot of people are so concerned and they remain mediocre because they're so concerned about what people say. Let me give you a friendly piece of advice. If you know how little people talk about you, you'll probably be offended that they don't. And on that note, have a great day. God bless you.